Hi, my name is Azalia Barraza, and I'm going to be talking about my reaction to the article Body Ritual Among the Nasarima by Horace Minor, which is about American culture. To start off, the anthropologist describes the Nasarima as an appalling and very sadistic culture. He expresses this by describing rituals such as the scraping and lacerating of the face or legs, and even inserting bundles of hog hairs in the mouth. These rituals are basically altering the body to become more appealing to others. For example, a ritual described is the altering of a woman's breast to either make them smaller because they are too big or to make them bigger because they are too small. They also have holy mouth men that perform rituals on the Nasarima's teeth so that they will have the perfect mouth to attract friends and lovers. The culture is defined as extreme and obsessed with the human body. The anthropologist even claims that the people are magic-ridden because their medicines have special magical properties and magical powders that magical practitioners administer. In regards to American culture, the Nasarima, as spelled backwards, the Americans use doctors and special medicines to change themselves to appeal to the American standard. Americans will get things like plastic surgery, which can change a woman's breasts or a person's face so they can become beautiful. The holy mouth men represent dentists and how people will go monthly to care for their teeth and make sure they are perfect for the human eye. Americans also become obsessed with the idea of physically achieving perfection, that they basically go through excruciating rituals to obtain it. Hospitals are even described as a temple where the medicine men administer rituals that don't even work but require rich gifts such as money. When describing cultures to other cultures, there are many common misconceptions due to the fact that people perceive things as alien and weird because they grew up differently from those other cultures. Americans, like myself, most definitely perceive other cultures in a way that is exaggerated or untrue. A communication practice I think an observer would find foreign and strange is Christianity or church. From the perspective of someone who hasn't been exposed to religion or church, seeing an individual or large group of people either coming together or dropping on their knees to worship something that seems to not exist would look crazy and mimic witchcraft. In church, a man stands alone in front of many people preaching about a book that has words, worshiping a being that is invisible to the eye. It can only be felt through the heart. People cry and raise their hands in the air, their words following along with a tune that worships this invisible thing. These people close their eyes and clasp their hands together, speaking words that almost sound like a spell in witchcraft. These people perform the spells to keep their minds and bodies healthy, while worshiping a being they deem to be almighty and all-powerful, yet many of the people there suffer from sickness or are going through extreme adversity. It can almost be imagined that these people chant sadistic spells that cause their pain and suffering instead of potentially helping them. It becomes a ritual as they perform this almost every day. But in actuality, being a Christian myself, Christianity has had a positive effect in my life, and the social gatherings at church are nothing like what is perceived by someone who has never experienced it before. Christianity itself is connected to the U.S.'s culture, as the American national identity and patriotism is linked to Christianity. The United States identity is upheld by the strong belief that Americans have religious freedom, as found in American currency and the Pledge of Allegiance. Christianity has been very influential in American society since it was first introduced in the colonial period. Christianity first was introduced to the U.S. as it was colonized by Europeans, and I believe this was the 16th and 17th century. Then in the 18th century in the Constitution, the First Amendment prohibited Congress from establishing any particular religion and from interfering with individuals' religious practices. The U.S. was perfect for religious movements, and by the beginning of the 21st century, 10,000 to 30,000 different Christians had established themselves. In 1787, Ben Franklin had spoken in the Constitutional Convention and said, "I have lived, sir, a long time, and the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth that God governs in the affairs of men." There has always been debates about Christianity and its stance in our country. Many historical figures such as Martin Luther King, Benjamin Franklin, and Billy Graham advocated for Christianity and peace. Christianity's roles in their lives could be a factor in their innovativeness, and because of their Christian beliefs, they were able to help large populations. In the book Unbroken, and based on real events, Billy Graham was able to reach the tormented soul of Louis Zamperini to help him overcome his war PTSD. I would say the biggest change Christianity has had in the U.S. is the individuals it inspired to make a change. Now, I believe that this was a huge cultural benefit because, as stated before, it inspired cultural figures to create positive movements. To go into one specific person that was inspired by Christianity, Martin Luther King Jr. was a prominent Christian voice in the civil rights movement. In fact, he was the most influential figure in regards to civil rights activists. For King, Jesus was his inspiration behind the violence-free movement. He embraced Jesus' line, "Love your enemies," and as said by Martin Luther King Jr. himself, "If you hate your enemies, you have no way to redeem and to transform your enemies." From the article, Martin Luther King Jr., as written by history, Martin Luther King was able to be the driving force behind watershed events such as the Montgomery bus boycott and the 1963 March on Washington, which helped bring out such landmark legislation as the Civil Rights Act and the Voting Rights Act. King was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1964 and has since been a holiday since 1986. Due to his inspiration from Christianity and applying it to his cause, he was able to help colored people earn their freedom and individuality in today's society. In conclusion, American culture, amongst other cultures, are perceived differently from each individual, depending on their upbringing and exposure. Learning to truly understand cultures and what they do will be important when accepting people and refraining from judgment.